Hey everyone, this is Grey Douglas Stuber. I'm so excited. In this video, I'm going to be telling you all about him and sharing my labor and delivery story. Excuse you. I excuse you. So baby Grey, he was born at 7:58 in the morning, January 10th. He was 21 inches long, blonde hair, blue eyes, and he's just such a little cherub. My husband and I were sleeping. It was in the middle of the night on Monday night, and I started kind of feeling like a little bit of contractions, a little bit of Braxton Hicks. I'd never really gone through labor because both my babies before were C-sections because of complications with my pregnancies. And so I thought, you know, for sure this was gonna be a C-section, no problem. Like you have in your mind, like, okay, here's the date, here's the plan. It's gonna be 1/11/17. And I know it sounds weird to say that, but like as a mom, like you just kind of get focused, like lasered in on it. So, you know, it was definitely the countdown. It was the day before. It's in the middle of the night. Like I finally woke my husband about 3 o'clock and I'm like, I'm not feeling well. Like my back is hurting. I'm having really bad cramps. And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, no, I'm like serious. I was reading a book. This is like how uncomfortable I was. I was reading in bed on my iPhone and I just started noticing the clock. And I'm like, that's interesting. Like it happened every like 23 minutes. And then it went down to 15 minutes. And then it went down to 12 minutes. And then at 4:30, I called my doctor and I said, I think I'm in labor. And I think my husband knew I was in labor when I went to take a shower. And like, he was like, okay, game on. And like, I kept pacing. I'm like, is this labor? Is this not labor? It was very confusing, but I was in so much pain. We called the doctor, Dr. Michelle Hakaka, and she was like, if it gets to 9 minutes, go to the hospital. Literally like 10 minutes later, I was at 9 minutes apart. We rushed to call someone to come stay with the kids. I finished packing the bag. Like I'd had it packed from the video, so I had most of it done, but I can't tell you how stressed I was. I was trying to make my husband go through red lights on Sunset because we live quite far now from Cedars, and we got into our argument because he wouldn't run a red light because I was having contractions. But we got there. I was still trying to convince them that I'm not having this baby until tomorrow. I can hold off. Nevertheless, I was in full-on labor. I had an amazing team at Cedars. Thank you, Megan Palermo, for teaching this girl to breathe and knowing what contractions are. Mark Sanchez was my anesthesiologist. I mean, everyone just, it was so great. Like I have to say, I was scared to death. And then when they finally said it was a go, I was like, I was like, okay, it's happening. You know, when you go to have a C-section, it's very bright, it's very cold. But they were turning on the music. They kept asking me, you know, like what I want. I'm like, I don't care. And then all of a sudden it got really quiet. And the one thing I've known with my doctors that when things get quiet, it's not good. Like Michelle's normally like talking about shoes or talking about like makeup or talking about like random things. Like she's just like talking, and it was like dead quiet. And all of a sudden, 4 pediatric nurses come in from the NICU into my operating room. And I'm like, what is going on? My husband was outside at that point. They were prepping me for the surgery. I was shaking, like crazy shaking. And I kept saying, I'm not cold. Like, what's happening? And they were like, you're going through labor. Labor brings on shaking. I mean, I was like, you could see me shaking. I guess what scared them the most and what scared me the most, they lost the heartbeat. So it was game on at that point. And by protocol at Cedars, they have to call in the NICU nurses. So literally 4 nurses from the NICU walk in or standing by the bed where they clean him and get his APGAR tests, which are a test that means like his vitality, how he's doing right when he comes out of me. And Michelle was focused. I kept saying, is everything okay? And she goes, uh-huh. And she was just like, okay, we're doing this. They called Scott in, and like, I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know why the nurses are here. And they're like, okay, we've got him. Do you want to see him? Like they start to bring him out. And what was so cute is like when they first brought him out, he actually grabbed Dr. Michelle's instrument, her suction instrument, like literally like grabbed it, and it was great. My husband always grabs their fingers and he holds them while they're doing the tests, and His Apgar was really strong and he had a little bit of fluid in the lungs, but it's crazy to watch those nurses. I mean, what they do and how quickly they get him, like, all the vernix off of him, and it's pretty special, and he's been fantastic. I mean, the nurses, you know, took such great care. We went into recovery, and it's funny, my parents were flying to come and see me, and by the time they landed, my husband FaceTimed them, and they were at the baggage claim at LAX, and they were like, "Do you want to meet your new grandson?" And so my mom burst into tears. It was just a really special moment. Like, she kind of knew she always felt I was gonna go early before she would get here, and I'm like, he came like an hour earlier, but it was really sweet. The name, oh my gosh, people always talk about the name. We've talked about the name for 9 months. I thought I was gonna kill my husband. So it came down, the two final names, we had a name slip in at the last moment, was Jameson. It was almost Jameson Gray or Jameson Douglas after my husband's side of the family. But in the end, Grey Douglas won, and he's such the perfect Gray. Brooks had a lot to do with the name. I know that sounds weird, but he would not give up Gray. Like, we kept saying Jameson, we kept saying Finley, and he wouldn't do it. It was Gray, Jack and the Beanstalk Batman the whole way. Living in California, you're kind of always used to like sunny skies and clear, and it was raining and very gray outside, so it was kind of suitable in a weird sort of way. So my baby daddy did a really sweet thing. Can you hear him? He's cooing. He did a really sweet thing. The day I got home from the hospital, when I got into bed, there was a little card and a little box tucked inside the covers, and he got me the best card. I cannot read it because I will cry for like 2 days, but he got me the most gorgeous Jennifer Meyer necklace, which I'm wearing, and it says M plus S equals B plus S plus G. Molly plus Scott equals Brooks, Scarlett, and Gray. And I have to say, probably the card meant more than anything, but the necklace is just a reminder of what I have and how special those 4 people are to me. It's so cute and it's sweet, and it just reminds me how much I love him, and they've been so good with him. I have these amazing pictures from the hospital that I'm going to show you on this video, and they each brought him something, and they brought him a little giraffe, and then Brooks brought him the Spider-Man, and they were so excited to meet him. And I think for my husband and I, that just made it all the more like doubly sweet to see their excitement. Coming home was a little more daunting than I thought it was going to be. I stayed in the hospital 4 days. We had a little bit of a sad thing happen. My little Chloe, my little dog, had a heart attack, a seizure right when I walked in the door. And so she's 15, and that was a little bit of a hard thing to swallow. I have a 15-year-old Yorkie and a 17-year-old Yorkie. And so she was taken to the hospital. I didn't even put down the baby from the hospital before she had to be taken to the hospital. So that was a little bit hard. But having him home with everyone has been good. You know, I get all 3 of them in the bed. We all have our milk. And it's sweet. You know, at first they're like, baby, and then they realize that the baby's staying. So it's sweet. And she tries to feed the baby. Scarlett's been, I think, probably the most affected. She's like a monkey on my husband. She doesn't leave his side. That's been a little bit hard, just to see her kind of have a little bit of a difficult time with the transition, because she's still a baby herself. But it's good. I'm trying to like do like small moments of time, like a half an hour with each, or like 45 minutes with each. And I'm so happy that, and so lucky to have this time to be able to have that transition and just be with them. The breastfeeding, it's always hard for me. I've always, you know, shared my story, especially with Brooks. My first one was born with a tooth. I don't know if a lot of you know that, but so that made breastfeeding a little bit painful. So every time when I get into recovery, I'm like, does he have any teeth? Is there a tooth? No tooth. Baby Gray has no tooth. You know, you always say I'm never gonna worry about it. But then of course you worry about it the moment they come out. So yes, I'm taking mother's milk, fenugreek. My girlfriend, Christina Brittenham, she got me these amazing lactation cookies that I've been eating. I think they're so good. I'm like pretending they're not other than like kind of sweets. From the hospital, I'm working with Linda Hanna, who's an amazing lactation specialist I've worked with on all my babies. Ramina from Cedars. I took a hospital pump home, which is here, which I didn't do with Scarlett, and I have to say I think it makes a difference in using a hospital pump. I just rented it, and it definitely is stronger than a regular pump if you're really having trouble getting your milk in. He's sleeping great. I mean, he has a little bit of a harder time around 4 in the morning, but he's a really good baby. So, knock on wood. I'm knocking on wood that he continues to sleep. But he's so great with my husband. I have to say, like, he loves him so much. I tell you, one of the best smells in the world is a baby smell. He looks a little bit like Scarlett. He looks a little bit like Brooks. But his coloring is more like Scarlett. And we're just excited and happy to find out who he's gonna be and what he's gonna like, and we're excited. The Tribe of 5, I think I've talked about a little bit, has been, you know, like always sort of a dream, but now it's here and it's real. So I'm so lucky and grateful for everyone that's helped me, you know, make this come true. I hope you guys enjoyed meeting Baby Gray. We're gonna be shooting a nursery tour. We're gonna be shooting newborn must-haves. Always subscribe and let me know your thoughts below. Share with me. And please, just one thing, hope that I get some sleep.